Is facing the scorn of conservationists amid a new report on the country's annual whale hunt. The report highlights some startling figures from the most recent expedition to the southern ocean around Antarctica. Now, take a look at some of the figures. 333 minke whales were killed in total. 122 were pregnant, and 114 were not yet adults. And the big question, is Japan's whale hunt legal? Well, it's pretty complicated. The International Convention for the Regulation of Whaling says whales can be killed for purposes of scientific research. Japan had to scrap its old program in 2014 after it was declared illegal due to being used for commercial reasons. But the government began a new one the next year, where it would kill up to 333 Antarctic minkies annually. Japan says this program is scientific in nature. It's necessary to study the best ways to manage minke populations. But conservationists say, no, it's a cover to hunt whales for commercial purposes. And a further wrinkle to the story here, the byproduct of scientific missions, meaning whale meat can be legally sold. Gary Stokes is the Asia director of Sea Shepherd Global. He joins me now here in Hong Kong. Gary, thank you for joining us here on the program. Just the data that was read out, very disturbing. But why do you believe that this is illegal, that this is a cover by Japan to hunt whales for commercial reasons?
Well, Japan has actually made it very, very obvious that they are attempting to resume commercial whaling. They are going down and doing, their scientific research, basically to prove that the population of minke whales is sustainable enough to resort to commercial whaling. And we've seen their track record of sustainable fishing with bluefin tuna, so it should send alarm bells.
Now, Japan whalers and the hunters, they say, this is their argument, these minke whales are not endangered, and they need to do this in order to manage the population. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's nothing to do with managing population. It's putting food on the table in Japan, a cuisine that is actually going out of favor. They have tons and tons of this whale meat already frozen on ice. It doesn't belong in the 21st century. And, the rest of the world needs to wake up and start taking action.
Now, Japan has been able to work around the rules, finding these loopholes, scrap old whaling programs with new ones that meet the regulations, and it goes on with new whale hunts. So what can the world do? What can be done to end this practice?
Well, it all comes down to the trade dollars, and that's what Japan is actually bargaining on. They know that people are afraid of going out of favor with Japan with the trade deals, especially Australia, for example. Australia actually has a $1 million federal court order against them, and they have not paid that yet. And they're just playing the trade game.
And in addition to Japan, are there other countries out there that also hunt minke whales? And if this goes on, even though minke whales are not endangered at the moment, could it eventually pose a significant threat to the species?
Yes, the other countries that whale, there are several whaling nations, the largest being Norway and also Iceland. Iceland is more for fin whales, but, will it threaten the species? Possibly it will, as they continue to wipe them out. As we've seen, 122 pregnant out of 333. I mean, those numbers are they're just horrific. But it's actually the role that whales play in the ecosystem in Antarctica, and the fact that they do help spread the nutrients, which keep the phytoplankton and everything else alive, which gives us oxygen to breathe. So I think they're kind of important. So does most of the rest of the world. So we need to see action taken.